Let me guess. You have found yourself here at this video because your sublimation is just not coming out the way that you want it to. Today, I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why your sublimation is probably dull and how you can fix it. If you're new here, my name is Lauren and I'm a craft producer here at Makers Gonna Learn, where we strive to bring you inspiration, education, and motivations to start crafting. Before we jump into it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. So, what makes your sublimation dull? Let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing that I truly believe will make your sublimation dull and not turn out the way that you want it to is by over pressing. Sometimes we think that the more heat and more pressure, the longer we put it on there, the more ink is distributed onto the blank that we use. However, I have found that when you add more heat and more pressure for a longer time, a lot of times what starts to happen is your blank starts to burn. So what I mean by that is it starts to get this yellowing effect on your blank. Your designs start getting a lot deeper of a color and it just doesn't turn out the way that you want it. So you definitely want to make sure you are pressing at the right temperature and the right time based on the blank that you use. Now, on the flip side of that coin, our second reason why your sublimation may be dull and not turn out the way that you want it is because you're not using enough heat and not pressing for a long enough time. Now, each blank is going to be different, but there is a very specific temperature and time for almost every single blank. What you need to do is always check the instructions on every single blank that you purchase. So just because you purchase a tumbler from one supplier and they say 390 for 60 seconds, you may purchase another tumbler from someone else and their temperature may be a little bit different, maybe a little lower for a longer amount of time, because it all is going to determine on the polymer coating on your blank or the polyester count, and that's really going to help determine how long and how high of a temperature that you press. Now, most of everything that you sublimate, you're going to have to set your press to around 380 degrees Fahrenheit to tops of about 410 and 415 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, when you get up into the 410, 415 degrees, it's going to be, there are very, very specific blanks that have a temperature that high. Not everything is going to be pressed at that high of a temperature. You do run a risk of burning your blanks if you go that high, because there is truly a sweet spot with sublimation, and I have found that that is between 385 degrees Fahrenheit to about 390, 395. That's where my happy medium is, where I love to live. If there's not instructions for the blanks that you purchase telling you exact time and temperature, I always have to test my first one just to make sure it works, but I'm gonna live around that 385 degrees Fahrenheit to about 390. And like I said, I have found that that is the sweet spot if you cannot find the time and temperature to press for the specific blank that you have. Speaking of blanks, that leads me into tip number 3. You might find that your sublimation is dull because the blanks that you are using either doesn't have a high enough polyester count if it is fabric, or it doesn't have the proper polymer coating if it is some type of hard surface. For those that may not be aware, or maybe you're new to sublimation, sublimation requires you to have some type of polymer coating or polyester count in or on the blanks that you use. So what does that mean? With sublimation, the process that happens is you print your design using a special dye sublimation ink. From there, you place it on top of your blank, you tape it down, you adhere it to your blank, and then you have to press it. Now, whether that is in a heat press, a tumbler press, maybe you're even using a sublimation or a convection oven. There are so many different heat sources that we can use for sublimation, but what happens in that process is the heat plus the pressure turns the dye sublimation ink that you have printed into a gas. So it goes from a solid to a gas. That gas then attaches to polymers on your blanks. So if your blank doesn't have a high enough polyester count or the proper polymer coating, your design is going to actually turn out pretty dull because that gas doesn't have anything to adhere to. So you always want to make sure that you are checking your polyester count on any blank that you have, even if it is not marketed as a sublimation blank. For example, these socks are an amazing example of this. These are not sublimation socks. These are just polyester socks, but because they are 100% polyester, you can see how bright our design turned out. So if you are doing textiles, anything that is a 60% polyester count or higher is going to give you better results. Of course, a 60% polyester count is going to lean a little bit more on the duller side. You're not gonna get as bright, vibrant colors as this. But if you use something that is 100% polyester, you are for sure going to get very bright, very vivid colors. Same thing goes with blanks that may not be textile. So if you are working with something that has a hard surface, whether that is a tumbler, so many different things that you can sublimate onto, you want to make sure that it has a really good polymer coating on it. Now, there are a lot of things that I have found that are marketed as sublimation blanks, but they're not all created equal. So if you are going to purchase a new type of sublimation blank, always make sure you are reading the reviews, because if someone receives a product that might be a little cheaper, but it is marketed as sublimation, and they go to press it and they don't get the results that they're looking for, a lot of times they'll go write a review. So make sure you are always reading reviews on things that you purchase. I really love anything PYD Life on Amazon. Always gives us great results. There are so many different resources out there that do sell sublimation blanks. Some of our favorite places that we have found to get sublimation blanks are going to be Coastal Business Supply, Johnson's Plastic, Unisub, Heat Press Nation, Heat Transfer Warehouse, Vinyl Tool Supply 143. You can find sublimation blanks so many different places, but a lot of times if I know that I want a really, really good blank, I'll go to a website like one of those versus Amazon, because sometimes I just don't know the quality. However, I will purchase from those other businesses because I know the quality is going to be fantastic, because they know sublimation and know exactly what it takes to have a good sublimation blank. For reason number 4 of why your sublimation colors may not be coming out the way that you want them or dull is color profiles. Now, I know you've heard people talk about color profiles so much, and that's because it truly is that important. Here is an example of a color profile that really didn't turn out the way that it should, and we'll go overhead so you can see it a little bit better. And I want to start off by saying that these colors are not bad colors. The colors ended up looking fine, but they were not the colors that was on my screen. This is not supposed to be like this gray color. It's actually supposed to be a bright blue. This is supposed to be a light peach. So you can kind of see like the colors coordinate and they look good if you never knew the difference. But I did not have my color profiles right when I pressed this. And that's why it is so important to have your color profiles correct. Now, here's the kicker with color profiles. You are going to have to download a print driver for your printer, and then depending on what type of ink you have or what brand of ink you have, you're gonna have to have a specific color profile for the type of ink that you have. Thankfully, most companies who do develop sublimation ink will have their very own color profiles, because each ink is formulated different. So each different ink is gonna need a different color profile. If you all did not know, here at Maker's Gonna Learn, we have created Maker's Gonna Sublimate, where we went through extensive testing on all the different brands of sublimation ink. We found our favorite, and we have given you those color profiles within our program. If this interests you, just so you know, we are running an amazing deal this week on our sublimation course. Make sure you click that first link down below. We have a coupon code for some money off of our course. So click that first link down below if you're interested in our course, because within this course, we're gonna walk you through beginning to end, how to set up your sublimation printer, all the way through choosing the right one, picking what brand of sublimation ink you want to go with. Our favorite is going to be, especially for our converted, we love the Cosmo ink. I've just found that it gives me such good results for my converted Epson printer. and so much more in that course. When I tell you you're gonna save money by investing in this course, in the amount of blanks that you're gonna waste, trust me, I mean it. I think we wasted hundreds of dollars testing everything out, finding the right color profile, figuring out which ink is the best, that we like the best, and so many different things. So, like I said, if you're interested in learning the exact color profiles that we use here at Maker's Gonna Learn, click that first link down below and check out the Maker's Gonna Sublimate course. Now, the fifth and final reason why your sublimation may be turning out dull is because you may not be using the correct press. Now, hear me out. Remember when I said earlier that sublimation requires heat plus pressure? I mean it when I say it requires that type of pressure. Now, I know that a lot of us here, if you've already started your sublimation journey, you have started it with the material and supplies that you have. And y'all, I'm all for it, especially when you're just starting out. If you have a Cricut Easy Press, maybe the 12x19 or the bigger Cricut Easy Presses, you can sublimate with those. However, it's not going to be as bright and vibrant as if you had an actual press, whether that be an auto press, a swing away, or a clamshell. Any of those are going to give you so much more pressure than just a Cricut Easy Press. Now, I know that those presses are heavy and they do add pressure, but they do not add as much pressure as you need. Same thing goes with tumblers. I know us here, we absolutely love our convection oven, but if you use a convection oven, but you do not use either shrink wrap or a silicone wrap that goes around your cup to give your design the pressure that it needs, your colors are not gonna come out right and you're more than likely gonna get ghosting. So let's talk about how you can add pressure to a tumbler, a cup, or whatever. They do have presses that allow you to get a full wrap on a design where you just close the handle, it gives the pressure, you don't really even have to have anything around it. It works phenomenal. But I will say they are a little bit more on the expensive side. If you want to go the cheaper route and use a convection oven for sublimation, I highly suggest you getting some type of silicone wrap. So what this does is it wraps around your tumbler, and we'll go overhead and I'll show you. It wraps around your tumbler like this, giving you the pressure that you need on your design. So you see how that hugs, and it even hugs right here on the bottom. This is the type of pressure that you need. We're not just talking about garments and a clamshell press or some type of press like that. You also need pressure with everything else that you sublimate on. I promise this is going to take your sublimation from dull to vibrant super fast. So those are the top 5 reasons why I feel like a majority of people's sublimation is dull, especially based on some of the questions that we've received here at Maker's Gonna Learn. I feel like these 5 things, if you change any of these 5 things, your sublimation is going to be so much better. If you want to get started on your sublimation journey, make sure you click that first link down below. Like I said earlier, we're gonna walk you hand in hand from beginning to end, taking you from a sublimation novice to a sublimation pro through this course. It is self-paced, and y'all, it is a one-time fee, meaning you pay for this one time. You can do it in 2 payments or 1, and you're gonna get updates for this course for the lifetime of this course. I'm telling you, it's worth it, especially with the deal that we have going on right now. Make sure you check it out. Click that first link down below. If you have liked this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. I can't wait to see how you take your sublimation from dull to outstanding.